The rain hammered my windshield as I sat frozen in my car outside the Riverside Hotel. My phone glowed in the dark, showing the GPS tracker I'd secretly installed in Adam's car 3 weeks ago. Working late, he'd texted. Again. The third time this week. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Then I saw him. Adam Tate, my husband of 7 years, stepped through the hotel's revolving doors. His tie hung loose around his neck. His jacket draped over his arm. And her hand gripped his. A woman I'd never seen before. Blonde. Laughing. They stood under the awning, so close their shoulders touched. She said something. He smiled that smile I used to think belonged only to me. My stomach twisted into knots. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear the rain. I wanted to scream. To run out and confront them. But something held me back. Instead, I grabbed my phone and took 3 photos. Clear. Undeniable. The evidence was right there. Adam kissed her cheek before opening an umbrella. They walked toward the parking garage together, disappearing into the shadows. I sat there for 20 more minutes, shaking, unable to move. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one raging inside my chest. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed at 6. My eyes were red and swollen from crying all night, but I covered it with makeup. Adam had come home at midnight, smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. He'd kissed my forehead and whispered he was exhausted. I'd pretended to be asleep. Now, I stood in front of the mirror in my navy blazer and pressed white shirt, looking professional even though I felt shattered. I was Frankie Tate, marketing manager at Henderson and Associates. I had a quarterly meeting this morning. I couldn't fall apart. Not yet. When I walked into the conference room at 9 sharp, my boss nodded at me. Then I saw her. The woman sitting at the head of the table. Tall. Confident. Wearing a charcoal suit that screamed power. Everyone, this is Miranda Cole, my boss announced. Regional director from the corporate office. My blood went cold. Miranda Cole. Adam's boss. The woman he'd mentioned dozens of times over dinner. The one who reviewed all his campaigns. She smiled at the room, then her eyes landed on me. Ms. Tate, she said warmly. I've been looking forward to meeting you. My heart hammered. This was bigger than I thought. Miranda's words echoed in my head for the rest of the meeting. She'd praised the creative campaign that saved Henderson's biggest client last quarter. The innovative social media strategy. The bold rebranding concept. Except those weren't Adam's ideas. They were mine. I remembered sitting at our kitchen table 6 months ago, sketching logos on napkins while Adam watched TV. He'd glanced over once and said, "That's pretty good, babe." 2 weeks later, he presented nearly identical designs at his company meeting. I'd found out from his excited texts. He'd been promoted to senior strategist because of it. I'd thought it was sweet that my ideas inspired him. Now, the truth crashed over me like ice water. Adam hadn't just cheated on me with another woman. He'd been stealing my work for months. Taking credit for my creativity. Building his career on my talent while I stayed in the shadows. My hand shook as I took notes during Miranda's presentation. She kept mentioning Adam's brilliance, his innovative thinking, his strategic mind. Every compliment was a knife in my back. When the meeting ended, Miranda approached me directly. "I'd love to chat more about your work here," she said. I smiled through the pain. I'd like that too. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Adam, listening to him breathe, and remembered when we'd first met. 9 years ago at a coffee shop near campus. He'd spilled his latte on my marketing textbook and spent 20 minutes apologizing. He'd promised to make it up to me with dinner. That dinner turned into 3 years of dating, then a small wedding with close friends and family. "I'll always take care of you," he'd said on our wedding night. "You and me against the world." I'd believed every word. Now those promises felt like poison. I thought about all the late nights he'd claimed were work emergencies. The weekend conferences I couldn't attend because they were spouses not invited. The password changes on his phone. The sudden interest in expensive cologne. The gym membership he never used to care about. All the signs had been there. I'd just been too trusting to see them. Or maybe too scared to look. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my best friend Kira asking how the meeting went. I typed back, "Fine. Call you tomorrow." Then I opened my laptop and started a new document. Title, Evidence Log. I began writing down every suspicious moment I could remember, every lie, every excuse. If Adam wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules. Adam came home from work the next evening whistling. He tossed his briefcase on the couch and loosened his tie, the same way he had outside that hotel. "Hey babe," he said, leaning down to kiss me. I turned my head slightly so his lips hit my cheek instead of my mouth. He didn't seem to notice. "How was your day?" I asked, keeping my voice light and casual. I was gripping my coffee mug so hard I thought it might shatter. "Exhausting," he sighed, collapsing into his favorite chair. "Miranda's really ramping up the pressure on this new campaign. I might have to work late again tomorrow." My stomach clenched. There it was. Another lie, served with such ease. I forced a smile. "That's too bad. I was hoping we could have dinner together." Adam shrugged. "Maybe this weekend." He pulled out his phone and started scrolling. I watched him carefully. His thumb moved quickly across the screen. Texting someone. A small smile played at the corner of his mouth. That smile used to make me melt. Now it made me sick. "Who are you texting?" I asked sweetly. His head snapped up. "Just Marcus from work. Fantasy football stuff." Another lie. I could see it in the way his shoulders tensed. "Sounds fun," I said. Then I stood and walked to the kitchen, leaving him alone with his secrets. The next morning at work, I made sure to arrive early. I'd spent the previous night preparing a detailed presentation of my current projects. Every campaign I was managing. Every creative concept I'd developed. Every strategy I'd implemented. All documented with timestamps, drafts, and email trails. When my supervisor, Kenneth, arrived at 8, I was already waiting outside his office with coffee and a smile. "Frankie, you're here early," he said, looking surprised. "I wanted to discuss the quarterly goals," I replied smoothly. "And show you some ideas I've been developing." For the next hour, I walked Kenneth through my work. I made sure to send him copies of everything via email, with clear subject lines and dates. I positioned myself as proactive, creative, and indispensable. When I mentioned the campaign that had saved the Henderson account, I carefully explained how I developed the initial concept. Adam mentioned his team did something similar, Kenneth noted. "Did you two collaborate?" "We discussed it at home," I said carefully. I showed him some early sketches. Kenneth nodded, making notes. I could see the wheels turning in his mind. Seeds planted. I wasn't accusing Adam of anything. I was simply making sure my contributions were visible. Documented. Undeniable. When I left Kenneth's office, I felt stronger than I had in days. This was step 1 of my plan. That afternoon, I ran into Miranda in the building's coffee shop. She was standing in line, scrolling through her phone, looking professional and slightly tired. I'd been hoping for this. "Ms. Cole," I said, stepping up behind her. She turned and smiled when she recognized me. "Frankie, right? Please, call me Miranda." We ordered our coffees and ended up sitting together at a small table by the window. Miranda talked about the challenges of managing multiple regional offices. I listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. Then, naturally, the conversation shifted to marketing strategies. I've been working on a concept for authentic brand storytelling, I mentioned casually. Using real customer experiences instead of manufactured narratives. Miranda's eyes lit up. That's fascinating. Adam pitched something similar last month. My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. Really? That's great. We've talked about it at home quite a bit. I'd love to hear how his team is implementing it. I pulled out my tablet and showed her some preliminary designs I'd sketched weeks ago. Dated files. Original concepts. Miranda studied them closely. I could see her mind working, making connections. These are excellent, she said slowly. Very innovative. Thank you, I replied with a warm smile. I didn't push. Didn't accuse. Just let the evidence speak for itself. We chatted for another 15 minutes before she had to leave. As she walked away, I knew I'd just gained an important ally. That night, Adam was different. Tense. His jaw clenched as he scrolled through his phone during dinner. I'd made his favorite meal, grilled chicken with roasted vegetables, but he barely touched it. Everything okay at work? I asked innocently. Fine, he snapped. Then, catching himself, he softened his tone. Sorry. Just stressed. Want to talk about it? He looked at me with something like suspicion. Did you talk to Kenneth today? My heart skipped, but I kept my face calm. Just a project update. Why? He asked me some weird questions about the Henderson campaign. About where the initial ideas came from. I took a sip of water, buying time. Maybe he's just being thorough for the quarterly review. Adam's eyes narrowed. You didn't say anything, did you? The question hung in the air between us. I could feel the shift in our dynamic. He was used to me being agreeable, supportive, quietly fading into the background while he shined. My calmness was unsettling him. About what? I asked, tilting my head slightly. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He couldn't accuse me of anything without revealing his own theft. Never mind, he muttered. He pushed his plate away and grabbed his phone. I have some calls to make. He disappeared into his home office, slamming the door. I sat alone at the dinner table, my untouched food growing cold. I pulled out my own phone and added tonight's conversation to my evidence log. Adam was scared. Good. 3 days later, I followed him again. Same pattern. Working late text at 6 o'clock. GPS tracker showing him heading downtown instead of his office. This time, I was prepared. I parked across the street from the hotel with a clear view of the entrance. At 7:15, Adam's car pulled into the parking garage. 10 minutes later, he walked out with her again. Same blonde woman. Different outfit. She wore a red dress that clung to her curves. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. Adam's hand rested on the small of her back as they entered the hotel together. I pulled out my phone and took photos. Clear shots of their faces. The hotel name visible in the background. Timestamps proving the date and time. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I got out of my car and walked across the street. My hands trembled, but my steps were steady. I approached the hotel's front desk, where a young clerk smiled at me. Can I help you? My husband just checked in, I said, letting my voice crack slightly. Adam Tate. I need to surprise him, but I forgot which room. The clerk hesitated. Hotel policy probably prevented him from sharing that information. It's our anniversary, I added, pulling out my wedding ring as proof. Please? The clerk glanced around, then quickly typed on his computer. Room 412, he whispered. I thanked him and walked back to my car. I didn't need to go upstairs. I just needed the room number. More evidence. The next week, I noticed something interesting. Small mistakes started appearing in Adam's work presentations. A typo in a client proposal. An incorrect statistic in a budget report. A mismatched color scheme in a campaign mock-up. Normally, I would have caught these errors for him. We'd always shared our work at home, and I'd often proofread his presentations while he cooked dinner. But now, I stayed silent. When Adam asked me to look over a pitch deck one evening, I glanced at it quickly and said, "Looks great, honey." I saw the error immediately. He'd used last quarter's data instead of current numbers, but I didn't mention it. The next day, I heard through office gossip that his presentation to a major client had gone badly. The client noticed the mistake. Adam had to scramble to recover. Kenneth mentioned it during a team meeting, his tone disappointed. "We need to maintain quality control," he said, looking directly at Adam. I watched Adam's face turn red. His confidence was cracking. At home that night, he was quiet and withdrawn. He poured himself a large whiskey and sat on the couch, staring at nothing. "Rough day?" I asked. "You have no idea," he muttered. I did, though. I knew exactly what was happening. Adam's career was built on my work, and without my support, the foundation was crumbling. He just didn't realize it yet. I was patient. Methodical. Every day, his reputation slipped a little more while mine grew stronger. That night, after Adam fell asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried. Silent tears that I'd been holding back for days. I looked at myself in the mirror. Puffy eyes, exhausted face, fake smile, and barely recognized the woman staring back. I'd loved Adam so completely. I'd trusted him with everything. My heart. My dreams. My work. My future. And he'd thrown it all away for what? A woman in a red dress? A promotion built on lies? I thought about the life we'd planned together. The house we were saving for. The vacation to Italy we'd talked about for 3 years. The conversations about maybe having kids someday. All of it felt like a cruel joke now. But underneath the pain, something else was growing. Anger. Cold, focused determination. I wasn't going to let Adam destroy me. I wasn't going to be the heartbroken wife who fell apart while he moved on without consequences. I was going to be smarter than that. Stronger than that. I wiped my tears and opened my evidence log. Photos from the hotel. GPS tracking data. Screenshots of his lies. Documented proof of my stolen work. It was all there. Building. Growing. Soon, I'd have everything I needed. I just had to wait for the right moment. I splashed cold water on my face and went back to bed. Tomorrow, I'd smile and play the perfect wife again. But inside, I was planning his downfall. The breakthrough came during a company-wide meeting 2 weeks later. Kenneth stood at the front of the conference room, addressing the entire marketing department. "I want to recognize someone who's been doing exceptional work lately," he announced. My heart jumped. Frankie Tate has been instrumental in developing the strategy for our new campaign with Horizon Tech. Her innovative approach to digital engagement has exceeded our expectations. The room applauded. I smiled graciously, my cheeks flushing with genuine pride. From across the table, I could see Adam's face. His jaw was clenched. His eyes were hard. Kenneth continued, "Frankie, why don't you present the campaign overview to the team?" I stood and walked to the front, pulling up my presentation on the screen. For the next 20 minutes, I explained the concept, the research, the strategic implementation. Every slide was mine. Every idea was documented with my name. When I finished, Miranda, who'd been invited to observe, spoke up. "This is excellent work, Frankie. It reminds me of the Henderson campaign. Were you involved in that project as well?" The room went silent. Everyone knew Adam had received credit for Henderson. I chose my words carefully. Adam and I often discuss campaign strategies at home. It's helpful to have another perspective. Miranda nodded slowly, her eyes sharp. "I see. That makes sense. but I could tell she was connecting dots. Adam shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He couldn't claim credit without looking foolish now. My small victory tasted sweet. Over the next few weeks, I made myself visible. I joined conversations in the break room about marketing trends. I shared articles in team chats. I volunteered for committees. When younger employees asked for advice, I took time to mentor them. I became the person people went to for help. Meanwhile, Adam's influence was quietly eroding. At a team lunch, I sat with 3 junior designers. They were discussing a challenging client project. "How do you handle it when clients reject your best ideas?" one asked. "You find out what they actually value," I explained patiently. "Sometimes they reject creative work because they don't understand the strategy behind it. Walk them through your thinking." They listened intently, taking notes. Across the restaurant, I saw Adam sitting alone, scrolling through his phone. People used to gravitate toward him. Now they sought me out instead. When we got home that night, Adam was sullen. "You're spending a lot of time with the junior staff," he commented. "They're talented," I replied. "They just need guidance." "You're making me look bad." The accusation hung in the air. I turned to face him, my expression innocent. "How could helping our colleagues make you look bad?" He had no answer. Because the truth was, he'd never bothered mentoring anyone. He'd been too busy taking shortcuts and stealing credit. Now, as people compared us, they were seeing what I'd known all along. I was the talented one. He was just the thief. Adam's desperation became obvious when he tried to manipulate me back into silence. One Saturday morning, he surprised me with breakfast in bed. Pancakes with strawberries. Fresh coffee. A single rose in a vase. "I've been thinking," he said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "We should take that Italy trip we've been talking about. Just get away for a while." I looked at him carefully. "That sounds nice. When were you thinking?" "Next month maybe. I know things have been stressful at work. For both of us." His hand covered mine. "I miss you, Frankie." His eyes were pleading. Almost sincere. If I hadn't known about the hotel, about the blonde woman, about the stolen work, I might have believed him. Might have thought he actually cared. Instead, I saw the manipulation for what it was. He was scared of losing control. "I miss you too," I lied, squeezing his hand. "But we can't afford Italy right now. Maybe after the Horizon campaign finishes." Adam's face tightened. The mention of my campaign, my success, clearly bothered him. "You're right," he said quietly. He took the breakfast tray and left the room. I lay back against the pillows, my heart pounding. Adam was getting desperate. That meant I was winning. But it also meant I needed to be more careful. Desperate people do unpredictable things. I needed to accelerate my timeline. The endgame was coming. That evening, I arranged my own visit to the Riverside Hotel. I'd called ahead, speaking with the manager, explaining that I needed to document my husband's infidelity for legal purposes. The manager, a sympathetic woman named Patricia, understood immediately. "We have security footage," she said quietly. "If you can provide proof you're the spouse, I can make copies available." I brought my marriage license and ID. Patricia met me in her office and showed me 3 weeks of footage. There was Adam, checking in with the blonde woman. Multiple visits. Always the same room. Room 412. "I can provide official documentation," Patricia said. Timestamped records, credit card receipts showing the room charges to his card, and witness statements from staff. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice shaking. Patricia squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry you're going through this. But you're doing the right thing, getting the evidence you need." I left the hotel with a USB drive full of footage, printed receipts, and official statements. Back in my car, I sat in the parking lot where I'd first discovered his betrayal. The rain had returned. But this time I wasn't crying. I was calculating. I had his affair documented. I had proof of him stealing my work. I had witnesses at my job ready to verify my contributions. Everything was in place. I just needed one more piece. A confrontation with the right audience. And I knew exactly how to arrange it. The opportunity came during the quarterly board meeting. Miranda had requested a comprehensive presentation on all major campaigns. Kenneth assigned it to Adam, assuming he'd been the creative force behind our recent successes. But Adam made a critical mistake. He asked me to help him prepare the presentation. "You're better at this stuff," he said, trying to sound humble. "Just help me polish it." I agreed with a smile. Then I deliberately gave him outdated information for one of the slides. A subtle error in the timeline that anyone paying close attention would catch. The morning of the presentation, I dressed in my best suit. Navy blue. Professional. Powerful. I took my seat in the boardroom as Adam set up his slides. Miranda sat at the head of the table, flanked by two other executives. Kenneth and the rest of our team filled the other seats. Adam began confidently. He walked through the Henderson campaign, the Horizon Tech strategy, the upcoming projects. Then he reached the slide with my planted error. "And here you can see the timeline," he said. "We completed research phase in March and launched in April." Miranda frowned. "That doesn't match the records I have. The launch was in May." Adam hesitated. "Oh, right. May. I misspoke." "But the research phase was also later than March," Miranda continued, pulling out her own files. "According to the documentation I received, the concept development didn't begin until February." Adam's confidence crumbled. The exact dates are." I watched Adam struggle, his face turning red as he tried to remember details he didn't actually know. Because he hadn't done the work. I had. Miranda's sharp eyes moved from Adam to me. "Frankie, you were involved in Henderson, weren't you?" The room's attention shifted to me. Kenneth nodded. "Yes, Frankie led the research phase." Adam opened his mouth to object, but Miranda cut him off. "Actually, I'd like to hear Frankie explain the timeline." I stood calmly and walked to the front. Adam stepped aside, his expression a mixture of panic and rage. I pulled up my own files on my laptop. "The concept began development in early February," I explained, showing dated documents with my name. "We completed research by mid-April, then launched the full campaign in May. The entire strategy was based on authentic storytelling and customer engagement." Miranda studied my documents. "These drafts are dated weeks before the official project timeline." "I often work ahead," I said simply. Adam and I discussed these concepts at home, and he helped present them to the team. Kenneth leaned forward, suddenly very interested. Miranda looked at Adam, then back at me. "Interesting. Thank you, Frankie." I returned to my seat. Adam stood frozen at the front, his presentation in shambles. The rest of the meeting continued awkwardly. Everyone could feel the shift. After it ended, Miranda asked to speak with both Adam and me privately. Kenneth joined us. In Kenneth's office, the truth finally began to unravel. "I want to understand the workflow here," Miranda said, her tone professional but cold. "Adam, you've received credit for several major campaigns. But Frankie's documents suggest she developed many of the core concepts. Can you clarify?" Adam shifted uncomfortably. "We collaborate. At home. It's hard to say where one person's ideas end and another's begin." "I see," Miranda replied. "Kenneth, what's your understanding?" Kenneth looked uncomfortable. Adam has always presented the campaigns. But Frankie has been increasingly visible in development and strategy. "Show me your original drafts, Adam," Miranda said. "The early concept work for Henderson." Adam hesitated. "I don't have those anymore. They were rough sketches." "I have mine," I said quietly. I pulled out my tablet and showed them my dated files. Sketches, notes, research. All time-stamped. All clearly my work. Miranda studied them carefully. Then she looked at Adam with barely concealed disappointment. These match the final campaign almost exactly. Adam tried to speak, but his words tangled. The excuses sounded hollow even to him. Kenneth's expression darkened as he realized what had been happening. Miranda stood. I need to investigate this further. Adam, I'm suspending your work on current projects pending review. Frankie, please prepare a full portfolio of your contributions. Adam's face went pale. You can't be serious. I'm very serious, Miranda replied. If you've been misrepresenting work authorship, that's a fireable offense. As we left Kenneth's office, Adam grabbed my arm in the hallway. What are you doing? He hissed. I looked at him coldly. I'm done being invisible. That night, I didn't go home immediately. Instead, I went to my lawyer's office. I'd been consulting with her for weeks, quietly preparing. Her name was Victoria Barnes, and she specialized in divorce cases. I have everything, I told her, spreading documents across her desk. Hotel surveillance footage. Credit card receipts. GPS tracking data. Witness statements from hotel staff. And documentation of professional misconduct. Victoria reviewed everything methodically. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and experienced. This is comprehensive, she said, impressed. Most clients come to me emotional and unprepared. You've built an airtight case. I want the divorce filed tomorrow, I said. I want him served at work. Victoria raised an eyebrow. That's bold. He humiliated me, I replied, my voice steady. It's time he experienced the same. She nodded. I'll have the papers ready by morning. When I finally arrived home, Adam was waiting. He'd clearly been drinking. An empty whiskey bottle sat on the coffee table. You're trying to ruin me, he said when I walked in. I'm revealing the truth, I corrected. There's a difference. He stood, swaying slightly. Everything I did for us. To build our future. You stole my work and cheated on me, I said flatly. That's not building a future. That's destroying it. I made one mistake. You can't throw away 7 years over one mistake. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. One mistake? Adam, you've been lying for months. Multiple visits to that hotel. Stealing credit for my campaigns. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. Adam tried to approach me, his expression pleading. Frankie, please. We can fix this. I'll end things with her. I'll give you credit at work. Just don't destroy everything. I looked at him, this man I'd loved for 9 years, and felt nothing but cold certainty. It's already destroyed, I said quietly. You destroyed it the first time you checked into that hotel. The first time you presented my work as yours. I walked past him to our bedroom and locked the door. Through the wood, I could hear him pacing, muttering to himself. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria, papers filed. Server will deliver at his office at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I typed back, perfect. Then I pulled out my laptop and reviewed the evidence one final time. Photos of Adam with the blonde woman. Hotel receipts. GPS data. Documented proof of my creative work. Email trails. Witness statements. It was all there. Undeniable. Comprehensive. Tomorrow, everything would come to light. Not just to Adam, but to Miranda, to Kenneth, to everyone at our company. His professional reputation would collapse alongside our marriage. I felt a strange calm settle over me. This wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about justice. About reclaiming what he'd stolen. My work. My dignity. My future. For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. The next morning, I arrived at work early and went straight to Miranda's office. She'd requested a meeting to review my portfolio. I'd prepared everything meticulously. "This is impressive work," Miranda said, scrolling through my digital files. "The depth of research, the creative concepts, the strategic thinking. This is senior-level work, Frankie." "Thank you," I replied. "Then why has Adam been presenting it?" Miranda asked directly. I took a breath. "You should ask him that." Before Miranda could respond, there was a commotion in the hallway. Raised voices. I recognized Adam's angry tone. Then Kenneth appeared at Miranda's door, his face grim. "Adam just received divorce papers," he said. "He's demanding to see Frankie." Miranda's eyebrows rose. "Divorce papers? Here?" "The server delivered them in the lobby," Kenneth explained. "It's caused quite a scene." I stood, my heart pounding but my expression calm. "I should go." "No," Miranda said firmly. "If he wants to talk, he can do it professionally. In my presence." Kenneth called security, who escorted a furious Adam to Miranda's office. He burst in, waving the legal documents. "You're divorcing me?" he shouted. "At work?" "You cheated on me," I replied evenly. "Multiple times. At the Riverside Hotel. Room 412. I have footage, receipts, and witness statements." Adam's face went from red to pale. Miranda's expression hardened. "This is highly inappropriate, Adam. She's trying to ruin me." "No," Miranda said coldly. "You've ruined yourself. And now I need to know the truth about these campaigns." Miranda pulled up files on her computer. "I've been comparing documents all morning. Frankie's dated drafts match the final campaigns almost exactly. Your presentations add nothing new. In fact, they sometimes contain errors that weren't in her original work." Adam looked between us, trapped. "We worked together. It was collaborative. Did you or did you not represent her work as primarily your own?" Miranda demanded. Adam's silence was damning. Kenneth spoke up. "I've also been reviewing email trails. Frankie sent you drafts weeks before you presented them to the team. You literally copy-pasted her concepts into your presentations." "I built on her ideas," Adam protested weakly. "You stole them," I said quietly. "And you let me believe you were being supportive. That you were proud of me. When really, you were just using me." Miranda closed her laptop. "Adam, you're suspended immediately pending a full investigation. HR will be in contact regarding professional misconduct. If we find evidence of systematic plagiarism, you'll be terminated." Adam's world was collapsing around him. He turned to me, desperate. "Frankie, please. Don't do this." "I'm not doing anything," I replied. "You did this to yourself." Security escorted him out. The entire office had witnessed the scene. Whispers spread quickly. Within an hour, everyone knew. Adam Tate, the rising star, had been exposed as a fraud and a cheat. I sat in Miranda's office afterward, shaking slightly from the adrenaline. "Are you okay?" Miranda asked gently. "I'm better than I've been in months," I admitted. The investigation moved quickly. HR reviewed every campaign Adam had presented over the past 2 years. They found a clear pattern. My initial concepts, sent via email or discussed at home, appeared weeks later in his presentations with minimal changes. Sometimes he'd altered a color scheme or adjusted wording, but the core strategies were always mine. He'd built his entire career advancement on my work. Within a week, Adam was terminated. The company released an internal statement about maintaining creative integrity and proper attribution. His professional reputation was destroyed. Meanwhile, the divorce proceedings moved forward. Victoria filed everything we'd gathered. The hotel footage played in the lawyer's conference room was particularly damaging. Adam's attorney tried to negotiate, but we had too much evidence. He'd emptied our joint savings account the day after being served, thinking he was being clever. But I'd already moved my personal accounts and documented his financial misconduct. The judge was not sympathetic. In the following weeks, my life transformed. Kenneth promoted me to senior strategist, the position Adam had held. Miranda offered me a consulting contract with the regional office for 6 months, with potential for permanent transfer. My work was finally visible. My name was finally attached to my accomplishments. Friends called to check on me. My family rallied around me. And slowly, the pain of betrayal began to fade. Not completely. Some wounds take time. But underneath the hurt, I felt something new. Strength. Pride. Freedom. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood in my new apartment overlooking the river. Smaller than the house Adam and I had shared, but entirely mine. I decorated it with my own taste, filled it with plants and art and light. No compromises. No stolen credit. No lies. My phone rang. It was Kira, my best friend. "How's the new place?" she asked. "Perfect," I said honestly. "And how are you?" "I'm good. Really good." And I meant it. The promotion had opened new opportunities. I was leading campaigns, mentoring junior staff, making a name for myself based on my actual talent. Miranda had become a genuine mentor, helping me navigate corporate politics and professional growth. Last week, I'd received an offer from a competing firm. Better salary, creative director position, full autonomy. I was considering it. For the first time in years, I had options. Choices that were entirely mine. I'd heard through mutual friends that Adam was struggling. He'd moved back in with his parents. The blonde woman had disappeared the moment his money and status evaporated. No company wanted to hire someone known for professional misconduct. His fall had been swift and complete. I didn't feel happy about his suffering. But I didn't feel guilty either. He'd made his choices. Now he was living with the consequences. Just like I was living with mine. Except my consequences looked like freedom, respect, and a future built on truth. 1 year after that rainy night outside the Riverside Hotel, I returned to the same spot. Not to reminisce, but to prove to myself how far I'd come. I parked in the same space where I'd once sat crying and heartbroken. The hotel looked the same. The rain was falling again. But I was completely different. I'd taken the creative director position at the new firm. My first campaign had won an industry award, in my name, with my photo in the trade publications. I'd reconnected with old friends, traveled to places I'd always wanted to see, and started painting again, a hobby I'd abandoned during my marriage. I'd even started dating someone new. Carefully. Slowly. But with open eyes this time. As I sat in my car, I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago. Scared. Betrayed. Broken. And I thought about the woman I was now. Strong. Successful. Free. The revenge I'd planned hadn't been about destroying Adam, though that's how it looked from the outside. It had been about reclaiming myself. My work. My voice. My life. I'd learned that the best revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about refusing to let their betrayal define you. It's about walking away with your dignity intact and building something better from the ruins. I started my car and drove away from that hotel for the last time. Behind me was the past, with all its pain and lies. Ahead was a future I'd built myself, brick by brick, on a foundation of truth. And that, I realized, was the real victory.